Right. What's up, fuck me. What's up, everybody? It's Mike here, your favorite instructor. Welcome back. I got a short lecture today on equity, so let's hop right into it. What is equity? Equity is your ownership in something, whether it's a company, whether it's stock. Equity represents ownership. So for personal finance wise, which is what I'm going to focus this on, would be, equity is usually referred to as your ownership in a property, usually your primary residence. Okay, so equity represents, for the normal person, their ownership in their home. All right, so let's talk about that. So if this is your home and you have a bank loan on it, you have a mortgage that you pay every month, whatever the payment is, doesn't matter. But say you owe the bank on your mortgage $150,000. Okay, well, say that this home is worth, if you were to sell it, you could get $250,000. Okay? Well, if the home's worth $250 and you owe the bank $150, let's do some simple math. $250K minus $150K owed to the bank. That means your equity in this property, or your ownership in this property, is $100,000. All right? That means you have equity of $100,000 in this property. So where is your equity? The equity is stored in your property, okay? It's like, imagine the money is, just sitting in your property, Look at your kitchen, the granite countertops, whatever you got. That's your equity, okay? Like, your money's all in this property. So you can get this money out, but there's a couple of different ways to do that, and we're going to talk about the best way to do it. Now, before we talk about the best way to get your equity out, we want to understand that equity is an asset, okay? So before we get into that, we want to understand how to look at equity. We want to look at equity as it's an asset to us, okay? We can use our equity to make more money, okay? So it's an asset, all right? Now, on the accounting equation that we're not going to get into right now, equity is, not listed with the assets. It's not on that side of the equation, but that's not what we're talking about, okay? Equity is an asset. And the reason for that is you can use it to make more money. So let's talk about the ways that you can use your equity to make more money. There's a couple different ways. Equity is like money, okay? It's just stored in your house. And remember, we don't want to let money sit. We want to constantly invest it. So we don't want to let our equity just sit in our house. We want to use it, okay? That's money we can use to invest to create financial freedom and get there all that much faster. So there's two ways that you can get equity out. Basic ways. One is a loan. So you can do that with something called a HELOC. It's a home equity line of credit. So you're going to take a line of credit, a loan from a bank against your property. The property is the collateral, meaning if you can't pay that loan back, they can take your property if they really wanted to, if it got that bad. So, option one is really, it's a loan. Option two would be a refinance, which is also a loan, except you're going to take your current mortgage, you're going to pay it off with money from another lender, and they're going to give you money on top of what you owe because you're taking some of your equity out too, and you're going to have that left over to use to invest. Refinance one mortgage to another, to a new mortgage, okay? Your mortgage payment each month is going to go up, but you're going to offset that by investing your money and out-earning that and keeping the difference on top as profit. But we're just trying to educate that there's a couple different ways to get money in your house. Home equity line of credit or a refinance, both are loans. So option three would be to sell the property. You bought the property for $200,000 and it's worth $50,000, but you only owe $150,000. Well, you have $100,000 in equity in that property. When you sell that property, you can get all the money for it, and now you have your equity out. So the downside to doing it like that, your downside is this guy right here, taxes or the government. You're going to pay a lot of that money to the government on that sale. That's why taking a loan out or refinancing is the best option, because remember, debt has no tax on it, okay? There's no tax on debt. So when I take a refinance out and take a loan, I get all my money out tax-free, and I still have the property, and I have my money to work with, and so on. Where if I sell it, I got to pay taxes, unless you have two options here to avoid taxes if you want to sell your home. You want to sell your home to get your equity out, to use that money to invest. You have two options. You can do a 1031 exchange. So a 1031 exchange, we're not going to get too into it, but what it does is it defers or offsets the taxes. Well, it defers the taxes, I should say. What it does is it pushes it back. So you can file a 1031 exchange. So and this is for investment properties. When you sell an investment property, you can go get a bigger and nicer investment property and take all the money from the sale of the home, the original home, and put it into that new property. This way, now when you sell that new property, then you're liable for the other taxes, but you could do another 1031 exchange. You can keep doing this and doing this and doing this until basically you die and you never actually have to pay taxes. 2, you have capital gains exclusion. I'm going to go over this in depth more, but just very shortly I want to touch on it as another way to get your equity out. If it's a primary residence, if you've lived in this home for the past 2 years consecutively or non-consecutively for 2 years in the last 5 years, you can actually sell your property and completely avoid legally any federal capital gains tax. So you can do a capital gains exclusion and sell that home if you've lived in it for 2 years, completely capital gains tax free federally. There's still going to be some smaller state and local taxes you have to pay, but it's a huge, huge save. But remember, you have to live in the property for 2 years consecutive or non-consecutive of the last 5 years, and it's only up to $250,000 in profit. So if you bought that home and you sold it and you make $250,000 in profit, no tax federally at all. If you make $400,000 in profit, well, 250 minus 400, minus that from 400, you're still liable to pay federal capital gains tax on $150,000. But it's a huge tax break, and the biggest thing is if you're married, that's when it goes up even more because it's $250,000 per person. So now you're actually going to get a $500,000 tax break if you and your significant other file a capital gains exclusion when you sell your primary residence. So those are just a couple ways to get your equity out tax-free that I prefer, rather than just selling the home outright and paying a large chunk to the government for no reason, because remember, they literally print money from the sky. What I want you to take out of this is equity represents your ownership in something, and equity is just like money. We don't want to let it sit. We want to use it, reinvest it, and continue to grow our net worth and create wealth, ultimately achieving financial freedom. I'll see you guys next time.